Welcome to Homeowners for Justice. I'm CJ Holmes, founder and independent real estate broker, pushing to change the foundation on which we build our country. The song just gets to me because we have been building on sinking sand, and today is a new day. We're going to hear updates from around the country, laws that are being set in our favor, and the homeowners are going to unite and fight back. Thank you for joining us. So today, I want to start by showing you some of the pictures of ruination that were sent to my email yesterday. This is truly, it bothers me a lot. And it better bother you, because the fact of the matter is, when this happens to people in our country, and we stand aside and don't fight back as a nation, then we're doomed. We must stand up and fight. So today we're going to look at some pictures. We're going to hear from activists from around the country, and we're going to get an update for some legal cases, like I said, that are in our favor. But what I want to remind you and have you really go back and look at what we've done so far this week. We've had some powerful people and presentations on these first 4 shows just this week. We started Monday, and on Monday we talked about the banks buying off the OCC, which, if you haven't heard about it, that's what's happened. The banks have bought off their regulators, and with just a few $1 billion, most of which is not even cash. It's going to be some esoteric forgiveness of debt. And as you'll have noticed on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, the debt is like not really existing. So they're giving away something they don't even own, that isn't even theirs. And the more you understand this, the more you'll understand my outrage and dismay and why I'm doing this to try to organize the country. So we talk about forged documents on Monday. And then on Tuesday, there's more documents, and on each one of the comment sections on the live stream, and don't forget how to get to live stream. You can either go to my website, hofj.org, and see right here, it's live stream, or you can go right there, live stream TV, and you can just follow this link. Just click on that link. And then I highly recommend you follow us so that every time we start to live cast, you'll get a little notice. I'm trying to blast out an email and tweet so that people are updated of what's coming. You must look at Tuesday, but the link to this article is in our in the comment section under Tuesday, how Iceland solved their foreclosure crisis. And I'm telling you, what they did was, they put the banksters in prison. They actually did. They're locking them up because it was corrupt and illegal what they did. They repudiated the debt, so people didn't have to pay back untold quantities of credit that was foisted off on them, and their economy is booming. So we can do this ourselves. We just have to understand that we can, and then get our elected officials to support us in that. Then the securitization. We had 2 days of discussing the concept of what they've really done and how they've so clouded both the people's thoughts and the attorneys and the judges' legal standing. And that is, they've confused, they meaning the banksters, and their concept of MERS. They've taken tangible property, like our notes and our homes, and they've converted it into intangible. So this is powerful. You need to listen to them, and you can watch them again and again and again. And I've put all the links into those comment sections so you can actually look at the articles or look at the handouts without going through the video again to study up on this. And then on Thursday, I did an overview with a highlighted copy of SB 900, which is the new law for California, with some ideas. And again, I'm not an attorney, but it just seems real logical that now with this law, we ought to be able to get some judges' favorable ruling in our favor, I would think. So contact your favorite attorney, see if they agree with me, and if they don't, I'm looking for attorneys that will. And as I find them, I will pass them out. This has been one of the dilemmas in this nation and in this fight is that we can't seem to get enough attorneys to fight with us, to understand and to write the pleadings so that we will get favorable ruling. I wanted to share with you, I've told you, I'm going to talk about how this country has been destroyed. These are some pictures that were sent yesterday in my email. And while we look at, this is Detroit. This is what our cities look like. And I haven't had a chance to travel there, but I've had people call me from Detroit and talk about how the servicer screwed their payments, didn't even apply them to the loan, and that's how they lost their home. And then even though it's a judicial state, when the servicer took the property back, they took it back at 5 times market value. So the borrower has an opportunity to buy the property back, but they have to buy it back at 5 times the value. They can't do that. And so it's just another way that the servicers are scamming the people and making it impossible for the people to keep their homes. But in the meantime, the servicer gets paid again and again and again. This is why I'm so outraged. I'd also like to read to you, I get emails from around the country, like I said, and here's some guy who says, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I migrated to the USA from Russia in 1990 to California and lived and got married here. And I invested in real estate. In 2005, I started a 5-unit project in Glendale, California. Unfortunately, because I made a poor choice with a general contractor, my project was not done until 2008. As you know, the market was losing value every day. My contractor put a lien on the property, and I was not able to sell it. I do not need to waste your time going into details, but you get the idea. Starting in 2005 and not done until 2008. By the time I finished my projects, in long story short, I lost not only my project, but my personal money, which I invested in it, but I lost my personal residence, house in Burbank, and duplex in Glendale. I was trying and did all I could for over 3 years with BK, bankruptcy, quiet title lawsuits. Nothing stopped the pretender lender, Bank of America, to steal my property from my family. All the judges, even though the evidence was there, all the loans, the papers, the assignments were done improperly, the judges were playing a game and ruled in favor of B of A. I did not see, now listen to this, he didn't see this kind of corruption in Russia. I met a person that came from Bulgaria on Sunday, last Sunday. He's talking to me about this corruption that we are facing. And what you're seeing here in Detroit, these pictures, they're caused by 3 things. Pretender lenders racistly and predatorily giving the predatory loans to the people of color, the African Americans. 70% were given these predatory loans, even at a rate 70% higher than whites, with same qualifications. The lenders are getting, the blacks are getting the predatory loans, ruining Detroit. And this is also corruption. This is Detroit corruption. This is corruption of our system. And I want you to understand that people from Bulgaria, people from Russia, people are saying to us who've been born here, watch out, you're in total corruption. And this corruption is leading to destruction. And that's what I want to share with you today. So we must join together, we must fight back, and we can do that. And I'd like to welcome as a first update, so today we've got updaters. We're updating from the first one we're going to hear, I hope, is public banking. Mark, is this you?
Yeah, hi, CJ.
Oh, hi, welcome. Welcome to the show. This is Mark from Public Banking Institute. So we're looking forward to your update with us today. What do you have to say? What's going on with public banking?
Yeah, glad to be here, CJ. So for folks who want an update on public banking, we're an educational and advocacy organization. It's called the Public Banking Institute. You can find out more about us at publicbankinginstitute.org. institute.org. But what we do is spend a lot of time working with groups across the country. I just got off a conference call with about 30 people who are forming chapters and affiliate groups in different counties and states. And all of this is part of the Public Banking Coalition, which will be launched this June at our conference. And our conference will be held, by the way, at the Dominican University, co-hosted by the Green MBA program. And the dates for that are June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. But the coalition's purpose is to really help state legislators who are really out in front of everyone, writing bills to create public banks. And we see a real need to form the organizational support so that they're not out on a limb, that they have the support of the people within each one of their districts.
Right.
That's what we spend our time on, is educating folks and organizing.
Now, first, two things. You said that you have this public banking convention or conference June 2nd. Do you have any link to a website or any information about that you can share?
No, what we're doing is announcing it on February 1st. So expect information on our website, Public Banking Institute, at that time. So publicbankinginstitute.org, and that will be announced. We'll have a social network associated with it. There'll be a way for people to get tickets either for the conference itself, which is all day on the on the 3rd and 4th, or also on the kickoff night, which is the Sunday night. That's going to be a special event at Angelico Hall, and we'll have quite a few hundred people there. Being a member of Iceland's parliament is coming over to speak at this. Brigitte Jónsdóttir is her name. She was very much involved in the changes that happened in Iceland in 2008. She was elected to the parliament the next year. She's a poet, and she's going to tell us all about the banks in Iceland, what happened over the last 12 years with them, and why a couple of them are now back in the hands of the public as opposed to being private banks.
Perfect. Okay, so I have a link to your website on my Homeowner for Justice site, but unfortunately I sort of tucked it under solutions, so I think after the show I'm going to put it at the main level, call it public banking, so that people can quickly find any information, the link to your site. I can actually put some of the information that I've gotten in your emails on my website. I can scan them, PDF it, upload it, so it's there for people to read, so that they can keep up to date with what's going on with public banking. And I've got on the screen right now The Web of Debt. This is a book written by Ellen Brown. It's fabulous, and it's such a key to the future for us. The fact is, the people, we need to, I call it the silver lining. The foreclosure crisis is a horrific problem, but there's a silver lining. And as the people really discover how they've been cheated by these private banksters, they're going to understand that the creation of credit for private profit is basically a moral hazard. And we as a country, and we're starting at the local level, and the Public Banking Institute is trying to bring this into the awareness of the people, that we don't have to do that. We could create credit for public benefit and keep it for the benefit of the community. But we have to learn how to do that. And so this is the whole point of public banking. Thanks so much, Mark. If you can make sure to send me any kind of updates that you've got, I commit to putting them up on my website and live streaming them on a regular basis so that people are constantly aware of what's going on.
Perfect. Will do.
Great. Thanks a lot, Mark.
Thanks, CJ. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, this is CJ. You're on the air.
Okay.
Is this Agnes?
Yes.
Hi, nice to meet you. You're with Occupy Mendocino. So what kind of update do you have to share with us today? What's been going on up in Mendocino County?
Well, sending the supervisors emails with sites that they should go to, including John O'Brien in Massachusetts and how he's created de facto moratorium on foreclosures by sending letters of affidavits of foreclosure authority.
Right.
And I believe that California has a law that even though we are a non-judicial state, that we could use knowledge of this California Penal Code 115, which requires the bank to aver upon recording a notice of default that it has the authority to foreclose under penalty of perjury, and the banks will stop filing these foreclosures because they don't want to sign such a letter, which would perjure them and give them jail time. Anyway, the way we went about it in Mendocino County is some of us have known members of the Board of Supervisors for some time, and we had sent them emails. Dan Hamburg, who is a new elected chairman of the board, said that he had 10 slips for speakers on the topic of public banking and eminent domain, and he called the speaker, Jesse, to come up to the podium, come up to the mic. She had told him earlier that she could read faster than anyone, and even though members are only given 3 minutes to speak, he allowed her, without changing the green light to red, she was able to read in 8 minutes the 2-page letter that we had formed with help of CJ to the Board of Supervisors. And during the break, there was an election in which there was a reception for the newly elected supervisors.
Oh, okay.
Out in the hall. And so informally I spoke to Dan Hamburg, who was the chairperson, and said that the letter that we had formulated and sent to Occupy Mendocino on our website was received by the editor of the Anderson Valley Advertiser, who praised it and said that he wanted to put it on his website as well as to publish it with my permission. And so with that kind of a relaxed atmosphere, Mr. Hamburg said that the best way for us to go about this was to meet with 2 members of the Board of Supervisors at a place of our choice and talk about this. And we would be able to get it on the agenda.
That's fabulous.
We would be able to have someone from the Institute come and speak as well.
Okay, so Agnes, you're saying basically in Mendocino County, which is not a very populated county, but you got 10 people to show up at the board, at one of the board meetings with their 3 minutes each, so to speak.
Yeah.
And the board was impressed enough with the interest that they said in an informal meeting afterwards where they're welcoming new supervisors, why don't you get together with a couple of members of the board, discuss these options, and for our viewers, we're discussing eminent domain of loan contracts and using those as assets to generate a public bank. I helped write a brief proposal for that, which they presented. And I commit to everybody, I will get that on my website. I'm taking notes, by the way, on these updates because I know I'm making these commitments. And get it on the website so that people you can just copy it. There's no reason for you to try to figure this out. What we need and what we're trying to do is generate stuff actions and activities and writings that can just be quickly duplicated around the country. So, Agnes, we're running a little over, but have they scheduled a time yet for this meeting?
No, we haven't. We have to get in touch with these individual supervisors, and we will.
Okay, all right. And so you'll come back and keep us updated, maybe next Update Friday, and tell us what's going on.
Yeah. Basically, we try to do it by consensus with the Occupy meetings that we have every other week.
Okay.
So that delays us a little bit. And we had a member of the city council speak to us and said that we cannot say that we will have people investing in the public bank because that would put us under the jurisdiction of the SEC.
Okay, we're going to have to discuss some of these technicalities. Next week, we're going to really start talking about public banking in the next 2 weeks, because this is one of the solutions that, like I said before, is a silver lining. We're going to have to move on, but thanks, Agnes. We appreciate your involvement today. Keep us posted.
All right.
Thank you. Hi, this is CJ. You're on the air. Is this Julian?
Yes, hi. Thank you, CJ.
Oh, thank you. This is Occupy Bernal. Julian, tell us what's going on in San Francisco.
Okay, well, with Occupy Bernal and ACE, the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, have been working together. Of course, we know that all of the major banks are predatory, are responsible for the foreclosure crisis. But we've been working with 29 people who are in foreclosure with Wells Fargo, who have been denied loan modifications and who are fighting to keep their homes. And just the other day, 2 days ago, we went to the board meeting of the San Francisco Employee Retirement System, which holds $49 million of funds in Wells Fargo, also holds tens of millions of dollars in B of A and Chase, and calling on them to divest unless the banks change their ways. And we had people in foreclosure themselves testifying about their stories.
29 people. Now, do you have any idea how many are actually facing foreclosure in San Francisco?
You know, I don't know at this point. It's newer than it was a couple of years ago,
right,
but it's still a substantial number. I mean, it is hundreds.
And these folks that you're representing, they're in basically Bernal Heights area?
No, this is citywide. We've been working in coalition with the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment.
And so share with us real quickly, how do you get these homeowners? How do the homeowners find you? How could they get help?
They can, every Saturday, we meet at 10 a.m. at the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment office, 1717 17th Street. So it's easy to remember, 1717 17th Street at the corner of Carolina in San Francisco's Potrero Hill neighborhood. And about dozens of foreclosure fighters come to this meeting, people who have learned that really the only way to save your home is to fight together with other people.
Yes. Tell us real quickly, what are you doing to help these people? How do you, quote, fight? What does that mean?
So the foreclosure fighters themselves are part of the campaign, and basically the banks don't listen to you because they have all the power to decide who gets foreclosed on and who doesn't. So the only power we have is they do care about their public image. And so we organize together. If somebody has an auction date coming up, it might mean flooding the lines of the CEOs and the executives with phone calls. It means protesting at the banks. It means calling press conferences, calling the retirement board to pull their money out of the banks. And really making sure the public knows what these banks are up to, because that's what they don't want you to know.
Right, exactly. Exposure. So how long have you guys been operating? Because you're about the strongest foreclosure fighters that I'm aware of here, at least in California. How long have you been doing this?
Occupy Bernal has been doing this for about a year, and ACE has been at it for a couple of years.
Right. Is it possible? Would you help us is ACE just California, or is it nationwide?
It's a statewide organization.
Statewide. Okay, so could you give us some way we could contact ACE so that they could be contacted in other cities? This is one of the biggest problems, is that people feel like they're alone, and it would be real helpful to know where the ACE offices are, and maybe we could get, more combination, more help as we join together in this fight.
Sure. They have a website, which is calorganize.org. And anybody can go to that website. It lists their chapters there.
Perfect. Okay. I commit to you and everybody that I do have a web page with links on it, and I will put calorganize.org right there and a brief explanation of how they're helping with Occupy Bernal. Thank you so much, Julian. We sure appreciate your updating, and we look forward to hearing from you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Hi, this is CJ. You're on the show. Is this Renee?
Yeah, hi. How are you doing, CJ? Hey, thank you so much for all you're doing out there and for bringing us all together like this.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Because, again, it's just like what Julian just said in Occupy Bernal, and what literally everybody says, and that is either we're alone and we're chewed up and spit out in pieces, or we stand together. And the fact of the matter is, there's 300 million people. There's only a few banksters. We do outnumber them. But it is a battle right now. So, Renee, why don't you update us with what's going on in your life there in Southern California?
Got it. You got it. Thank you again. Hi, guys. My name is Renee Powers. I am a mortgage warrior, also a director of a new organization bringing together a core group of people who have been investigating this debacle through data and through transactions for the last 3 years, heavily formulating proof and awareness of the actual involvement from the bottom up. One starts from the bottom in the research, and the other one starts from the top. They both have very different levels of awareness on how to bring the data together. Our website is National Homeowners Justice Coalition. We are formulating to help bring awareness and education through people like yourself, CJ, who started your sites. We want to bring links. We want to bring education. Our goal is to direct people to sites like yours for action, and to come to our sites to read and educate themselves. One of the biggest educational things I am pushing right now is awareness of documentation, and the fact that the court is not about the truth, but about procedure. And what I mean by that is we have to get our documents discredited out of court. Like Agnes was discussing, it is very important to get into your county recorder's office and get them on board. We cannot accept and allow any more documents to be fraudulently filed in these courts. And how we do that is behind the scenes. Every homeowner can do this. You don't have to have an attorney to do this, folks. You get your documents. You find the people who can help you discredit them. If you have a document that's notarized on one day and signed on another, you don't need a whole lot of help. That's very easy to prove fraud right there. And many of us have robo-signed documents.
Okay, now wait just a minute. How do you get them discredited? How do we do that?
What you do is, first of all, you have notary surety bond companies. You can go online and look them up. What you do is you take your documents. You have notaries saying, I had them in Calabasas and Arizona. You call the office at which their license is related. Say if they're a notary in Orange County, you call the Orange County records. You find out where their surety bond lies. That's public record. You contact that surety bond online. You file a claim online. We'll get with you. But what you have to be is very clear that the notary fraud and the notary problems are based on not being actual about the signer, i.e. meaning, if we have a Nicole Clavidenture, like I had on my document, she's a known robo-signer. She signed for MERS, she signed
Right.
for different as an assistant vice president of this and that. She works for Bank of America. The notary works for Bank of America. Although he has an obligation to checking the signer, he also has further obligation to make sure he's not helping commit fraud. No matter who it is in this nation, do not let them tell you that all a notary has to do is see who's signing the document.
Correct.
Also have to be aware of who is signing it, capacity they're signing it under. They are responsible for their behavior because their document signing and notarizing
Right.
what gives legitimacy for that document to be filed. The other thing is if you do not have filed documents any longer in court,
Yes.
the banks have nowhere to go. Their procedure is based on having the document, not the truth in the document,
Right. Right.
having the document filed.
Exactly.
So our job as homeowners is to not be complacent. You get your documents, you go down to your county recorders, and if you go down and they say they aren't going to help you, you can't prove it, you get the proof. It may take you a while. You spend thousands of hours online Googling these names and everything else. John O'Brien's office, they're awesome. They have a list of robo-signers.
Yes. Yes.
Mile long. We're still compiling more lists. But basically what our goal is to tell people you have to use what you have. Stay out of court as long as you can.
Right.
Support the things that are working. Quit doing the things that aren't working. And understand that we are all in this together.
Yes.
No one is more educated than anyone else as far as their person goes. But this is a whole new level, folks. This is a whole new way of doing business, a whole new way of looking at things. Just because an attorney is a real estate attorney, not make him a mortgage warrior in this atmosphere. We have to vet the people doing the work for you. If you don't know who your lender, beneficiary, your trustee, and your beneficiary, any of those, if you don't know those, you don't know anything about your documents. Don't trust somebody else to know it.
Hey, Renee.
Yourself.
Renee, this is just too fabulous. Okay, this is what we're going to do. If you're okay with that, I'd like to have you as a guest on next week. On the show, I'd like to make what she's explaining to us right now in this update. We need to have you slow down. We need to have this in a format that the people can understand and listen to. If you're willing to share with us, would that be okay?
Oh, I'm more than willing to share. And if you'll direct people also to the site, I constantly am daily updating the education.
I tried the site.
Site.
You said National Homeowners Justice Coalition. Exactly what is the site name? Spell it for me.
That's it. That's our Facebook site right there. We're in the middle of creating our website.
Oh, okay. That's a Facebook site. Okay.
We've been so quickly going in forward motion, but it's also,
Right.
I want people to know that everything you hear, all these lawsuits across the nation, one thing I learned as a very young woman in business was from Mary Kay Cosmetics many years ago. Don't even want to tell you how many. I sat down in front of her at a convention in Dallas, and I'm from California. I sat down 5 months pregnant with my second child thinking I was selling cosmetics. At that point, I looked up, she looked down in my face, and she said, I'm going to tell you something. Keep it simple, sweetie. If it seems too hard and too complicated, somebody's trying to steer you another direction. It's very simple.
Exactly.
That's exactly what we're in right now.
Exactly.
To quit feeling it's such a terribly hard thing.
Right.
It's hard if you're wanting to understand the mechanics of what they did. But basically what they did was create smoke and mirrors. So, yes, I would love to be on your show. I would love to share. And please know that the women and men behind me right now that are the handful as the foundation of this organization are the most knowledgeable on the data and the process that our government and the banksters used to create this against us. And we are working behind the scenes with many people to help people like yourself, CJ, get the tools that really matter. It's very simple, but we just have to have those listen. And the reason it's simple, and yet it doesn't seem to homeowners, the banksters don't want it to be simple to us.
No, of course not. And they have made such a complex maze, trying to keep, steal the houses, basically make all the money, steal the houses, and I really appreciate your sharing this. Would Thursday be okay? Next Thursday?
I will make it next Thursday at 10. I will be available for you. It's more important that everyone out there is a homeowner or has already lost their home. Just because you've lost your home doesn't mean you've lost the battle. We are going to win this war. And if you've lost your home and think you have nothing, think of it this way, and I'm going to leave you with this, CJ. When they go to court to steal your home, you have documents, whether they're true or not.
Right.
Now, if you as a homeowner have lost your home with fraudulent documents, the judge didn't listen, think about the fact that fraud has no statute. Once you realize that, and you still can discredit those documents, get them out of court record, now you can go back for breach of contract and quiet title. Whether you can get the home back or not, we don't know. But we do know with rescission and restitution comes quiet title. Even without quiet title, there's restitution. Fraud cannot stand in this country. We cannot allow people to use contracts to steal from us.
Okay.
It's not about homes. It's about paper obligations and smoke and mirrors to steal our homes. Thank you for your time. CJ.
Exactly. Thank you, Renee. We're running a little late, so I believe next is hi. She's
You're on the green one.
Oh, I'm on the green one. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry, guys. The phone is really confusing to me. I can do the computer, live stream, piece of cake. Okay. Hi, this is CJ.
Hey, CJ, how are you?
Is this Mary?
Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you so much for waiting. Can you quickly update us what's going on in North Carolina?
Alrighty, in North Carolina, we are taking advantage at this point of a new funded program, and I think this is money left over for the national settlement. North Carolina currently has $6.3 million to investigate and prosecute foreclosure fraud and financial fraud. Now, and we had already started doing this when I found out about this money, so just right in place with what we're doing, but I'm advising my folks, Sheriff's Department, file a fraud claim against whoever is involved in the transaction from the banks to the foreclosure.
Okay, so Mary, you're telling me, am I hearing you correctly? I want to make sure that our viewers understand that if you're in North Carolina, does that mean anywhere in the state?
Yes.
You can file a foreclosure fraud claim.
Yes.
What is required to file the claim?
You just take your information down there, just body in a car, go to the office, whether you're in the county or city, go to the city fraud department or to the county fraud department or the sheriff's department and tell them you want to file a claim based on foreclosure fraud. And you take your documents, and we'll have to go back for a minute and talk about what she just said about taking your documents to the Register of Deeds and having them authenticated or taken off the books.
Right.
This starts with fraud at the Register of Deeds office. And what we're doing is we're taking those documents straight to the sheriff and say, hey, here's the fraud. Here's the robo-signed documents. Here's somebody saying they're signing as attorney in fact for the bank when in fact they are not and cannot be. And we can talk about that in a minute. But
yes.
We're putting their feet to the fire, putting them in the line of fire, and making them prove that they have the right to foreclose because they do not.
How, Mary, how did this get started in North Carolina, and how do you think others can do this in their state?
Very easy. I think, I started working with a few people here in North Carolina. My daughter, for one, and she's been in foreclosure for over 5 years now, okay? And they haven't foreclosed. Part of it was because they had a moratorium on foreclosures and didn't do any, but now they're starting to heat up again. So we've done our QWRs, we've done our complaint to the OCC, and I can't tell you how important that is. We'll put a stop to everything.
Right, which is what I've been, trying to share with people. The problem is, at least in California, it may postpone, but what we're really trying to do is to stop the foreclosure. Now, in California, we don't have any money for investigating foreclosure fraud. When people
this
take
was supposed to be a 50-state deal.
This was supposed to be a 50-state deal?
Yeah. This money was coming down out of the national settlement So $25 billion and was being allocated to each state, and I'm sure based on the size of the state. But I would be surprised if California doesn't have these funds too.
I'm sure we have the funds.
Okay.
But they're not telling us that.
No.
So how did your state, was it your attorney general who put these funds in place? Can you share it with us?
No, but since the funding mechanism ended December 31st, the states were trying to get their hands on the money that was left over.
Okay.
You realize that, right?
This is
Money
the
left over out of that funding. There was a lot of it to come to the states for them to use as they saw fit.
oh
I think this might be where some of that money comes from.
right, and see, I think that went into our general budget in this state.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so screw the people. Sorry.
Great. So anyway, we're filing complaints with our sheriff, and what's the big part of this, I met with him last week and showed him everything I had. He said, this is great, but I need these individual people to come in and file a complaint, and they have. Well, he's committed at this point, from what I understand, to get this secondhand from my guys who've been down there, he's going to take these cases and consolidate them and send them up to our conference of DAs and see if he can't get some prosecution going.
Excellent. Now, see, this is what people here in California are trying to do, going into the DAs with forged documents, and they're just getting blown away. The DA has actually told some of our activists, I won't do any process or proceeding or any kind of prosecution for robo-signed documents. It's as if robo-sign is okay.
That's what our Attorney General is doing also. But this is separate from the Attorney General.
All right.
This is a new program. This is a different program.
We're going to have to move on, Mary, but I want to talk to you more, and I would love if you could figure out how other states and people in other states might be able to snag the money the way North Carolina did for this. That would be really helpful. And everybody in North Carolina, pay attention. You guys have something that other states don't have.
Really? Well,
Yeah.
I'm surprised, but even though we're doing that, CJ, and I know you got to go, follow the trail of paper.
Yes.
Because in reading one of the PSAs in this particular situation, these banks that are signing as attorney-in-fact for whoever, ability to do that because the PSA
Right.
specifically states that they did not give authority to anybody, any person, any entity to sign anything on their behalf. So all these documents filed with the recorder's office are, in fact, fraud.
Okay, so if the person, and then PSA, for those of you watching, real quickly, it's the pooling and servicing agreement of the securities and the securitization of the loans that the banksters created and sold to investors like pension funds and Iceland. That agreement specifically says, this is what Mary is saying, that nobody can sign on their behalf.
Right, that's what it says in the PSA.
Okay, so basically we get the PSA and for the loan that our loan was in, the pooling and servicing agreement of that securitized instrument, and then you can connect that with the person that signed, and we're going to be talking about that with Renee next Thursday. That's great. Maybe you can share with us on Thursday about that too, Mary.
I will, and there's another story I'd love to tell you, but you don't have time, but I'll email it to you.
Okay, that's perfect, and we'll have you on next week. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye now. Hi, this is CJ. Is this Linda?
Yes, good morning.
Oh,
this is
thank
Linda.
you. Thank you. So can you quickly share with us, we're running just a few minutes behind, on the AG settlement and how do we get the claim? You've mentioned that the people need to file a claim. Can you clarify that for us, please?
Right. There's a toll-free number. I will give it to you now. It's 866-430-8358. You have to call that number and get a claim number, and that allows you access then to the website where you can file your claim. Now, this is extended from the OCC because that was 2009-2010. This goes from foreclosure action between 2008-2011, and it's easier to get.
Okay, now
All the states but one. It's in 49 states.
Now, the fact is, on this, you sent me the paperwork for the Office of Arizona Attorney General. This is what I'm looking at, and that's say that number again. Is that 866-430-8358?
That's correct.
Okay, so this is a standard form, and that's a national number. Is that correct?
Yes.
and people must file a claim. So they can call this number to get the claim form, right?
Yes, they get a number, which then allows them access to fill out the claim form.
Oh, that's right. And here you sent me the nationalmortgagesettlement.com.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I commit to everybody that we will be putting this nationalmortgagesettlement.com link for this website that you're looking at right now, so that you can, on the comments section of this live stream show, I'll also put it on my website, hofj.org, so that everybody that's had a foreclosure, and what dates for the foreclosures now again, Linda?
2008 to 2011. So we've added a year before and a year beyond the OCC.
Now, what happens when they get a number? They get a number, then what? Do you know?
Then you can go to the website and fill out the form on the website. And remember, the closing date for this is January 18th. And if you don't have access to internet, you can call your Attorney General's office and ask, or from that same number, that toll-free number, ask them to send you a form.
Now, do you have any idea why first off, is this in lieu of the independent foreclosure review?
No, it's in addition to.
In addition to.
I think this may be what the previous caller was talking about, how the state got money, because they are mandated, they have to review these on the state level.
And do you have any idea how they're reviewing them?
No, I don't.
No, nobody knows, except the reviewers get
Looking
paid.
at them, it's not a big deal like the OCC where they have their internal. This has to come from the Attorney General's office, and they're directly responsible for doing this, and the money had to be given by the bank, so the money's already there.
And so this is for everyone who's had a foreclosure of any kind ought to at least try and apply.
Absolutely.
Okay, and this is from 2008, so unfortunately if you lost in 07, I guess you're out of luck. But 08 to 11?
Yes.
What about last year, 2012? Doesn't count?
No. Remember, these orders went out in 2011.
Right. And and now we're hearing about it at figures. Oh my goodness.
Well, it was just like the OCC. It was, it was known by people who were researching it, but very vague on what the parameters were. And now they're sending out notices again that you have till January 18th to file this or postmark it. However, again, if people have lost their homes and moved on, they're not going to get these notices.
Oh my goodness. So, yeah, exactly. See, and I read somewhere, either something you sent or something somebody else sent, that they didn't want to do any advertising. So, God forbid we tell the people how they can get any restitution, is sort of how I look at it. Is that about what's happening?
Yeah, there's just so many ways that it's being hidden. It's ridiculous.
Right.
So it's up to all of us to let each other know.
It's intentional. It's intentional. Hey, Linda, we've got Occupy LA on Skype, so we're going to hear an update from Suzanne. And then I'd like to, if you don't mind holding on, I'd like to come back and talk about how we can shut down our foreclosure mills.
Absolutely. I'll be here.
Okay, thanks. Hi, Suzanne. How are you doing?
Hi, CJ. I'm great. Thank you very much.
So what's going on with Occupy LA?
Well, this is a subcommittee of Occupy LA that's been active a lot on the foreclosure issue called Occupy Fights Foreclosures. And we've been doing a lot of really great work. We're a very strong group. We keep growing every week. We have 3 meetings. One of them is in Spanish. We have a meeting on Sunday, and there are usually several dozen people there, often 40, 50 people. A couple of Sundays ago, it was standing room only. It's really amazing how much energy is going on. So this week, we, of course, were upset about the pending settlement, so we put together quickly an action. Happened on Wednesday in front of the federal building, where I think Holder's LA office is, as well as represents, the federal level. stuff, and we had an action in front of there, and we also walked in front of Kamala Harris, our Attorney General's office, basically to say the settlements mean get out of jail free, and it is not just, and that is not what we have in mind for our country.
Right.
And so that it was a very powerful message. We had some media attention, not a lot, but we did have some. The Spanish media in particular in LA has been covering us from the get-go. They're really strong coverage in the Spanish media. So that went very well. And Carlos Marroquin, one of our most active members, reaches out to the media all the time, and he gets called a lot just to ask for our comment and what we think of things. And he of course gave them basically, this is ridiculous, and why? What do we expect of the American people to accept such injustice?
Right.
So that's where we are with that. But there's also some good news that happened on this week. And we went to the County Board of Supervisors meeting on Tuesday. About 7 or 8 of us from Occupy Fights Foreclosures went there. We've been going there regularly since probably April or May. But this time, and we've been working with the Department of Consumer Affairs and the commissioners that Los Angeles County Board has. And we've been pushing many different strategies to halt foreclosures. The latest one, evolution from all that, was an implementation of the Homeowners Bill of Rights at the county recorders levels. And so we put together a really structured proposal that said, here's what the new requirements are in this Homeowners Bill of Rights in terms of what they're requiring of recorded instruments. And it's stricter than it was before, and that gives you, we're arguing, county, this gives you the authority now to require some new things going on at the county recorder's office. And we're recommending an affidavit that is very structured, that specifically relates to the Homeowners Bill of Rights new requirements, and asks for, real person signatures, taking real responsibility. And we put that in front of the commissioners at the beginning of December. They were very impressed. And on Tuesday, we put that before the supervisors themselves. And I think it went really well. And we gave them all the documents. And I'm going to follow up with them as well. And also, this is the first ever time Supervisor Gloria Molina woke up. She's been sort of dismissing us and almost ridiculing us every time we've gone there. The homeowner, she's like, "Well, what do you want us to do?
Right.
Why are you here?"
Right.
But this time, she was saying, "What is it got to take for me to us to get an investigation of all of these fraud documents?" I keep hearing.
Yes.
So we almost cheered.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Now, you sent me a draft, Suzanne, about I've got the draft proposal right here. I'm just putting on the screen for people to notice. And is that okay if I link it to the website?
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
I mean, this draft, and I think that it's a working draft. We don't know how they're going to respond to it, but I think that they were impressed. I think it's got some good pieces in it in terms of what I know that the Homeowners Bill of Rights says, because I looked it up and read it very carefully.
Right.
And the commissioners in the commissioner subcommittee meeting, they were pushing back with, well, is this actually in the law? And I said, well, it's my argument that it's in the law. We have to make the case that it's to be able to ask for these requirements. But I was asking them to see it that way. And this is how this is where law gets interpreted, right?
Exactly. And see, just yesterday, I highlighted the SB 900 in the key spots and took a few minutes on the show to read it and to suggest to people, because it actually states, just like you've quoted here, that they can't file a notice of default or these trustee substitutions or assignments without the authority to do so, and justified it, but there wasn't any real penalty, say. It's always up to the homeowner. We're always going to have to sue to make them happen. So what Occupy LA and Suzanne have really started to do is to go to the recorder's office and say, now look, this is the new law. So let's stop it here before they're filed, basically. Let's do what John O'Brien's doing, which is the bank sends an affidavit, an assignment, let's say, on somebody's property, assigning the deed of trust to somebody else, and it's a signature that's a robo-signature. It's on a list. They know that this is a fake signature. He rejects the document. He won't record it. What a concept. And we've been trying to, and that's what she's referring to, going to the recorder, trying to get them to do the same thing, and they're saying, get out of my face. But now we have a law that we can actually start, like you're saying, interpret.
Right. And we have met also with Dean Logan, our county recorder. I unfortunately wasn't aware of the meeting that some other Occupy Fights Foreclosures members were having, but they met with him personally and asked him. And what I heard, in all the meetings that I've had, I expected him to come back with, the county council basically says we don't have authority to make any new requirements in the county recorder's office. I mean, the county recorder here is an appointed position, and he's not elected, so he doesn't have independent authority. So, they were saying, well, that's state law. That these are the only things we're precluded from doing anything, because we brought up exactly the point about in Salem, and the question here is, well, how many things are recorded in Salem, Massachusetts compared to Los Angeles.
Exactly.
And, there's problems of scale, and so I appreciate that. But the subcommittee members, the commissioners meeting, there are a lot of active people who knew a lot about what was going on. So they're saying, this is important. We need to understand and figure out what we can do. And they were seeing this as potentially really excellent, way of doing it. I think, at least it's my interpretation of their body language and
right.
So I think that there is room here. I don't think it's going to, be as easy, but it is. I think there is room, and there's argument to be made that this is a way we can implement this, especially because there's money involved in California. There is $1 million grant available for implementation of the Homeless Bill of Rights through the Department of Justice.
Right. So
that I'm sure all the county commissioners are happy. Supervisors are happy when they can get more money. So I think there's some really good power here. I think so.
Well, I really appreciate your sharing this with us, Suzanne, and we would really like to be kept updated about this. Maybe we can chat it a little longer next week on one of the shows. Looking at the draft, you can explain again how others in other counties, because this should work around the nation, this concept now, especially in California with our new bill, but a lot of other states are way ahead of us. They already have bills that could be used by the people if the people could, just take your draft, if you will, and then just plug in their laws, that kind of thing, and go to the recorders and start to get this foreclosure crisis stopped. That's our goal right now.
Yes, yeah. I think that if they already have bills, excuse me, then they just need to adapt. I think it's a matter of showing. I mean, in California, it was a good reason because we have a new law to say that this law needs to be implemented. And if there's other situations similar around the country, that definitely could give people a way of getting this accomplished.
Right. Thanks so much for sharing. We're going to have to move on. Appreciate it, Suzanne. We hope to see you soon. And thank you so much for being on video Skype.
Thank you very much, CJ. Bye-bye.
Okay, see ya. The fact is, guys, let's get on Skype. It can be done. See how nice it is to look at somebody while they're talking? And quickly now, in the last few minutes, I know we're running a little long. It's okay. I'd like to make sure that we've updated you on lawsuits around the country. Jeffrey Burns is truly an attorney fighting for the people. And I want to bring a special attention. They've got a lawsuit, a class action against Wachovia. And I'm pointing out here, I will have his site linked on the comments so that you can go there. If you have a World Savings or Wachovia loan, you just need to contact him and see if you can participate in any settlement. I've asked him to come on for an update today that he's just so swamped, and they have a hearing in their class action January 31st. So once the hearing is done, he's committed to coming on for an update. So we really we just need to really support the attorneys that are on the side of the people. I wanted to bring your attention to Michigan Supreme Court. They have ruled in a specific lawsuit that J.P. Morgan Chase did not acquire WAMU loans from the FDIC by operation of law. And now the Morgan Chase is going to be required to prove that they have ownership of these loans through evidence. In other words, what we're saying here, and the whole point of everything that's coming out, is that there's so much fraud that they don't own the loans. They don't. That's why they've had to forge documents. And that has been what I've been saying now for a year. Once I look at the documents and understand the basics of securitization, they don't have the right. And now it's coming out in case after case. Here's a couple of things, and I'm sorry we ran long, and so we're not going to get yet, but we will talk next week. How can we bring the foreclosure mills down? And the fact is, there's a huge foreclosure mill in Florida, 2 of them. Marshall Watson is now shut down, and you'll notice that the lead attorney has been suspended. All of these foreclosure mills are led by attorneys. It's attorneys that are forging the documents. They should be losing their licenses. They should be going to prison. And the robo-signing attorney, he paid to have affidavits signed. And we're going to really quickly, before we go, talk about this whole issue of thousands of foreclosure cases left in the lurch. This is a true human disaster nightmare. Quickly, I want to remind you, I've live streamed, it's on archive, the Oregon Supreme Court hearing on the MERS appeal. Oregon passed a lower state court ruled against MERS. MERS is appealing it. This is the hearing of the Oregon Supreme Court. You just got to hear it. It's the attorneys for MERS, the attorney for the people, and the justices asking questions. It is fascinating listening, just about an hour and 5 minutes or so. Then I wanted to talk to you real quickly about this is the disaster in the making. This is a special report, the latest foreclosure horror. This is zombie title. And what that means is, and what has happened, and I wasn't even aware of this because it doesn't happen everywhere, but in many places, what happened, the banks started foreclosure. These are people looking at their home. The banks told them, we're foreclosing, so get out. So they did. And what happened is the banks decided not to foreclose. And so now they're in limbo land. I'm going to put this article up on the website and up on the comments in this today's show. And you'll see that with impunity, the banksters are getting away with this. They decided not to foreclose, even though the homeowner never caught up with payments. They just abandoned the property. People moved in. And now, listen to this, threats of jail. That's not threat of jail to the bankster. That's threat of jail to the homeowners. Because the homeowners are now having their wages garnished, their credit destroyed, their tax refunds seized. They owe all the back property taxes. They don't have any rights. They just have all the responsibility of the owners as owners. But since they moved out, people have moved in and trashed the homes. And so this is the problem. This is the problem. The people are on the hook from the beginning to the end. And this is an actual nightmare we have to stop. You saw, we started the show with the destruction in Detroit. Here's another city. You know, there's thousands of owners now that the banks have left hanging on the hook like this with a zombie title. They're still on ownership. They had no clue. This was years ago. The banks abandoned the properties, never foreclosed, are completely off the hook. The communities are destroyed. Who's going to pick up the pieces? They're killing the people. They're going to suck the people dry because now the people have to pay the back taxes. They have to fix the houses. They're on the hook. This is so incredibly unfair. I'm speechless. So please join us. Look at the last things we did last week. I want to just really briefly show you. Last week, we talked about the forgeries. We talked about the tangible and intangible issues in the securitization. I tell you, this is really, really important. This is what makes all the difference, and it's going to really help explain what is going on and how so many people, all of us, are so confused. And also, I went over the SB 900. You're going to see the highlighted portions that now, as you'll see today, I'll put the link up with the draft resolution Occupy LA has in front of their recorder's office. Okay, now we have a law. Now you got to do this. SB 900 gives us some power. So look at that for yourself. And next week, I wanted to just point out we're going to have feature a writer who's written about how this is a cycle that the banks do over and over. This is nothing new. This is, if you will, and I met with a contact just this morning for coffee, and I quoted him the title, The Bubble, the Short, and the Long. And he says, that's what the banksters are doing in everything. They're doing it in the stock market. They're doing it in the bond market. They've done it in real estate. It's how the banksters deal with the people. So you got to listen and understand that this is everything that the people are involved in. And then we're going to have Laura come on and talk to us about public banking and getting money out of politics. That's Laura Wells. She happened to be the candidate for governor for the Green Party back in 2010. It'll be real interesting to hear from her. Foreclosure Defense Workshop. I want to make sure that you understand that's coming. You can watch it live or archive. That's on Tuesday from 11 to 12 Pacific Standard Time. Valerie's going to come back on and quote the law for the tangible, intangible statutes. Obviously, we just heard that Renee's going to come on Thursday and explain to us how we take our documents and get them rescinded without even going to court. Come on, this is really fabulous news. We appreciate you joining us, and this is CJ Holmes for Homeowners for Justice signing off. And until next week, have a good weekend.